Hello and welcome back to another video on this channel. Today we're going to be talking about Dostoevsky's book, The Idiot. We're going to be talking about why you should read The Idiot, or is this book for you? We're going to be talking about this from three different perspectives. First of all, we're going to be answering the question, what is this book about? Secondly, we're going to be talking about what are the key themes of this book. And finally, we'll be talking about who this book is for. Of course, this is not going to be an in-depth discussion about the individual themes, topics, or storyline or characters in The Idiot. Rather, I'll be giving you an overview of the story and suggesting who this book is for. With that in mind, you can then decide whether you want to buy this book or you might want to read another Dostoevsky work. And you can find this series, why you should read whatever book of Dostoevsky or existentialism, in the card above, where I talk about, or I have a playlist where I talk about all these different books by Dostoevsky and give you advice about, well, is this book for you or not? And that's kind of the goal of this series, or at least this first section of the series, where I'm presenting all these books, giving you a bit of a trailer, a snippet into these stories, so you can learn more about them for yourself. Furthermore, I'm going to have timestamps throughout the video, so you can skip to any section that you want, especially if you already know perhaps the contextual knowledge, then you can skip to the themes in the book or who it's for, depending on where you want to watch it. So of course, I have timestamps for you in the description below, so you can skip to wherever you want. So first of all, let's talk about what is it about. This book is essentially one of Dostoevsky's most beautiful books, one of his most Christian books as well. Unlike all his other books, which were written with the main goal to kind of sustain his family, of course he wrote them to present his own viewpoints. There is a difference between The Idiot and his other works, apart from maybe notes from perhaps apart from House of the Dead and his final work, The Brothers Karamazov. All his other books were written with significant financial worries in mind. It's not to say that when he was writing The Idiot, he didn't have financial worries in mind, but also when he wrote this book and when it wasn't the best received, we can see in his letters that it didn't worry him significantly. He said that as long as the people who are reading this book were able to wrestle with the issue or were drawn into the storyline, that the book already served its purpose, which suggests that he wasn't predominantly focusing on the money, but also about the storytelling and its transformative nature in people's lives. Now, the only question is then, well, what was he trying to achieve? What is his purpose that he's trying to transform and bring across to the reader? And I think the answer is quite simple, and that is the story of Christ, or the perfect hero, the ideal. And while he does cover the ideal in other stories as well, for example, Gentle Creature, White Knights, or The Dream of a Happy or Ridiculous Man, depending on your translation, the ideal is perhaps presented nowhere as profoundly or as clearly than in the book The Idiot, because the character Mushkin is arguably the most kind of his representation of Christ. Of course, he tries to do that with Alyosha as well, but there isn't that kind of direct connection as there is with Mushkin and Christ. And we know that because in his notes, he writes about Don Quixote and also talks about the nature, how is one meant to build sympathy towards his hero, and what are the characteristics of the divine? And of course, I'll be discussing this in more depth later, but one of the things he really points out is, well, sympathy. You don't have this kind of feeling for the divine in the same way you have towards Napoleon or towards a great leader or historical character. You don't view them in the same way as you do with Don Quixote, as someone who goes against the normal run or the normal perspective of reality. For example, of Jean Valjean in Victor Hugo's work. Of course, Jean Valjean is a bit different, and of course, Dostoevsky does realize it, but there's still that feeling where you feel bad for them in some ways. You have sympathy for them, and that is what brings out their beauty, the hidden beauty, which is hidden despite it being so obvious to you. And that's what's seen in The Idiot. Mushkin, although it has this hidden beauty, this really deep, profound, and beautiful, and some sense of an innocent nature, he also is seen as a bit of an idiot, and idiot not in the derogatory sense, but rather in the sense that he is unable to recognize when to do the right thing, and when I mean the right thing, it's the pragmatic thing. He's too kind at times. His kindness betrays him, and he isn't able to live the most pragmatic life, and constantly gets cheated out of money and all these different ideas. So as a result, we can see that by bringing in this kind of Christ-like, kind of innocent nature, we start thinking about further issues. We start thinking about how we ought to improve our lives. And of course, we shouldn't bring ourselves directly to that, to make ourselves or allow ourselves to get used, to allow ourselves to get cheated. but at the same time it really provokes kind of thought or self-reflection about, well, maybe my actions in life isn't good, or I'm not living the place where I should be, or I'm not at where I want to be in my life, in my relationship. And with that in mind, I think we could turn on to the second part of the discussion, which are what are the key themes of the book. The key themes of the book, I think, can be summarized into three main themes. One is redemption, and that is brought through the character of Nastasia, where she's fallen but greatly beautiful as well, and it's that kind of idea that the beauty will save the world. I've referred to this before, but it's the idea that if she is willing to accept that forgiveness and redeem herself, that will be great beauty, and that beauty will be so sufficient that it has this salvation kind of property which would justify the existence of all things around it. There's this kind of idea of love and forgiveness and redemption. The second theme, I think, in this book is really what is the ideal. As I've said before, it's like, well, how do we posit this ideal and how do we work towards it? And finally, I think the third theme is, well, how to be humble and how we're meant to live. We're given this example of this perfect ideal. Well, how do we integrate it to our lives? Are we meant to achieve it and apply it completely to our lives? Or are we meant to take the parts which are reasonable from it? That's also an interesting question we have. So I think that those are the three key themes. And finally, I would like to discuss, well, who is this book for? I really think this book is for everyone. It is, unlike the Brothers Karamazov, where it's really dark, this book, while it does have its dark elements, but at the same time, the light given by Mushkin, it creates a very Christ-like narrative which could be shared to people of all ages and all backgrounds. Of course, if you want a shorter work, then perhaps I'll point you towards books like Gentle Creature and Other Stories, which do have shorter works which discuss the ideal, dreaming, and all of these other topics as well, but in a shorter way. However, I don't think they discuss the topic to as much depth as Idiot, and of course, the Idiot is massive. It's like 600, 700 pages worth of writing, and it's quite small, quite wordy, these pages, of course, as well, but evidently there is some sense of beauty within it, which takes the whole novel to read it. And if you don't like long novels, and this novel is perhaps not for you, but if you're willing to go through it, then I think that there is great comfort to be found in this work. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've talked a bit about what it is about, kind of the key themes, and also who is this book for. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like always, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and also let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like always, stay safe, thank you for watching, see you soon, God bless, and goodbye, my friends.